The dominating political topic over the past 2 years has been the pandemic, of course, but it hasn't only been politicians driving the conversation. The spotlight has often been on healthcare and public health experts. So joining me tonight, experts from mental health, infectious diseases, and public health and law policy. We have Dr. Quam McKenzie, Dr. Lenora Saxinger, and Professor Lorian Hardcastle. So first, I'd just like to open up the floor and quickly get your thoughts on, the biggest obstacles that the government has faced or faces when it comes to the pandemic, and even the fact that we are having an election during a pandemic. So Dr. McKenzie, maybe we'll go to you first.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for having me here. It's very exciting to be here with all three of you. Well, I think from a health perspective, it's difficult to justify an election because it seems like an unnecessary distraction from the business of protecting health during wave 4. But we do have to start thinking about recovery now, and there is so much to do. COVID has exacerbated inequities, and we have to start building a new and more equitable Canada, including affordable housing, childcare, better healthcare, healthy jobs, making progress on reconciliation and on anti-Black racism. So I can understand why they were tempted to go for a mandate for the rebuild. I guess we'll see democracy in action, and whether they've made their case and whether their gamble will pay off. But I'm very worried that people have other things on their minds, and actually calling election now may be problematic.
Thoughts? You're an infectious disease expert.
I actually would agree that calling it now, I'm an Albertan infectious diseases physician. I work in a hospital. It's an immensely distracting time. And when it was initially called, it was actually coming to the end of a relatively optimistic almost time that quickly started turning sour towards the middle to end of August and over the beginning part of September. So I think people are frustrated. I think that people are angry. And I think one big thing that keeps on coming up is that we've seen such a range of provincial responses in healthcare and in public health policy over the course of the pandemic. And I would say that I haven't heard any of the parties really talk about how we might start addressing some of the issues that we have in Canada when we try to address a massive problem like the pandemic. And so that's another area where I think there's been a lot of weaknesses. And I'm really not quite sure how everything's going to unfold, honestly.
Very interesting. All right, Professor Hardcastle, your thoughts on this pandemic and the election right now?
Well, I think that I'm not surprised that the government called the election, given that they had widespread vaccination. We finally got over those procurement issues. And I think people now are looking to whoever the new leader is to address some of the issues that were exposed by the pandemic. I think chief among those is probably long-term care. And what role will the federal government play in making those improvements?